And the trail, like I started to watch the trail just kind of fade. I knew this section before, like where did I get lost at? You know, turning around, coming back. And then, you know, it was like, it got to a point where you couldn't even ride anymore.
Right.
Like I would go out for a ride on the trail, like to get away from the stresses and you know, life, and to get out and recharge the battery. And it was like, all of a sudden I'm in the middle of the Badlands and the trail is so overgrown, I can't even pedal. I've got to shoulder my bike and bushwhack.
We're here with Nick Ybarra, an outdoor recreation advocate,
yeah.
Which I've never heard of. And you love the Badlands. You love the Maah Daah Hey Trail. I love the Maah Daah Hey Trail. There's some synergy there, but I'd love to hear your story. But how did you get into all this?
Yeah, man, it's been quite the journey, quite the adventure. And it just all kind of started by accident. I guess it started with probably my first bicycle ride. Broke out of the house at nap time. My mom fell asleep when me and my brother and sister were supposed to be napping. And I couldn't stop thinking about trying to ride my little bike without training wheels. Mom tried teaching me all morning and I couldn't get it. And then sitting there laying in bed and like had to try again, and snuck out of the house, got my bike into the driveway, jumped on it, and like felt it, like it clicked. And,
right away.
Yep. And I rolled down the driveway out into the street, quiet neighborhood, you know, luckily in Houston, Texas. And I just like kept riding. Went down the street, found the neighborhood boys, and was like, let's ride.
And from there on, you've been on two wheels?
Yeah. That was like that feeling of adventure, freedom, exploration. That was what I was chasing ever since then.
Yeah. And like people kind of associate you with the Badlands of North Dakota because of the love that you found there. Like how did that come to be? You were in Houston, so
yeah.
What was the story?
Yeah, my parents moved us to Bismarck when I was in kindergarten. And so we came from Texas, transplant to North Dakota, and now I consider myself through and through a North Dakotan. Right on. I love North Dakota. So, you know, growing up in Bismarck, we've got, you know, great outdoor opportunities here. But when it was like once we started going out to the Badlands and I saw the beauty there, I was just drawn to them.
People don't necessarily know that. Like there's outdoor opportunities in North Dakota. I think I grew up in central North Dakota, and that's the heart of my recreation. And I do think you have to be a little creative.
Yeah.
But once you find it, it's like your whole world opens up.
Yeah.
But first time you went to the Badlands?
Probably a family vacation. I remember like pulling into the little town of Medora and getting out of the the old minivan with the wood panels, those old Dodge Caravans, you know, just like the door sliding open and there is that big town butte, right? And I remember my little brother and I were just like straight up the butte.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. It's a modern day mini Teddy Roosevelt story. Come to North Dakota and be like, oh, okay, there's something here.
Bully.
Back then, mountain biking in the Badlands, I suppose, wasn't really a thing, but it slowly became that. And how did that kind of come into your life?
Yeah, my big activity as a kid was baseball and then riding my bike, right? That was growing up in the 90s, that was the golden age of free range childhood. Like if you had a bike, you could go anywhere. And so like I'd ride to baseball practice, I'd ride to the, you know, mini mart and get, you know, stocked up on snacks and goodies and then, you know, rent a DVD or the new video game and bike home. That was like, biking was just part of life. Like that was right. Your bike was your horse, you know, and that was
backpack full of Laffy Taffy and a Nintendo game.
Yep.
You're ready to go.
Big League Chew, you know, like that was dude. That was a great childhood. That just evolved into, you know, like all of a sudden the bike was a source of exploration and adventure, you know. And my dad mountain biked with his buddy, and so it was like I just kind of like took my dad's bike, started exploring trails in Bismarck, got hooked, and then a buddy invited me out to check out the Maah Daah Hey Trail after I graduated high school.
Okay.
And I was kind of in holding, waiting. I was enlisted, ready to ship out for basic training, and it was like before I left for basic, went out, discovered the Maah Daah Hey Trail, and it was like that ruined me.
Yeah. So for people who don't know, what is the Maah Daah Hey Trail?
Yeah, so we've got one of the longest continuous single track trails in the country, and it's open to hiking, horseback riding, and mountain biking. And so it's in western North Dakota, the North Dakota Badlands. You know, people always say, aren't the real Badlands in South Dakota? Like, no. Teddy Roosevelt, you know, came to the North Dakota Badlands and fell in love. Right. And he's the president who did the most conservation. So yeah, right? Like, he invented the national parks, right? And so he called this area around Medora and western North Dakota, he called them the Badlands. So they're the original Badlands.
Well, the first time that I went to the Maah Daah Hey Trail was with my dad, who was into biking and triathlon and things, and we took our Huffies, cheap, like big box store, $100 bikes, and went on a section line, and his frame broke in half, and it was like, oh, this is extreme, you know. But like you said, I mean, the world just kind of opens up because it's like you can go anywhere. It's awesome, and big time epic adventure, and it's available. Mm-hmm. But the trail itself, the Maah Daah Hey Trail, because it's through rugged Badlands, it's got mile markers, and which are the turtle. You want to talk about that?
Yeah, the turtle. So the origin of the trail was there's a local rancher just south of Watford City, right at where Triple C Campground is now. And he asked the Forest Service if he could do a horseback ride from the north unit of the Theodore Roosevelt National Park all the way down through the Badlands to the south unit. And so that's like where the invention of that was the origin of the Maah Daah Hey. So the Forest Service took that idea and said, let's make it a trail. And then it was Gerard Baker who came and named the trail Maah Daah Hey, you know, which means something that has been or will be around for a long time, like a grandfather, you know. And in the Native American culture, that is not necessarily biological. You know, your grandfather is someone in the community who can teach you something. So in many ways, the Maah Daah Hey Trail is like a grandfather, because how many times has being out in that environment and on that trail like taught you something, right?
Every time.
Exactly.
Yeah. And
so it's such a perfect name for it. But then the turtle symbol comes from the Lakota Indians, and it's a symbol of fortitude, longevity, strength, and endurance.
And that's like, I don't know, wood burned or whatever on every post,
right?
So you'd know, like within like eye shot from the spot you're at now, so you can know you're still on the trail, because it's all open to cattle and everything else.
Yeah, it's in the grasslands. Like 98% of the trail, well, I suppose like 89% of the trail is in the national grasslands, the Little Missouri National Grasslands, so managed by the Forest Service. You've got like maybe like 8 or 9% in the national parks. They go through the north unit, south unit, and then you've got like 2% where it maybe crosses a little corner of private land.
Right. So when I was in high school, then, I mean, that was like the experience, the Maah Daah Hey Trail. And so I went there like once or twice, maybe the first time I went there just with a buddy, you know, and then it's like, this is now my life. So I went home, and like my whole bed frame, like the headboard, whatever, I sanded it down. I wood burned the turtle into it.
Nice.
Because it's like this is, but everyone who goes to the Maah Daah Hey Trail comes back in love.
Yeah.
Eventually I went, and it was probably like college years for me, and I'd go down biking, and I'd come like into like the woods or something. I'd come out, and there's like 4 different trails, and I'd kind of get off, and so at some point it wasn't to the caliber that it had originally been, or it was just getting kind of difficult, and it seemed like it was like losing popularity a little bit, like or just people were kind of giving up on it. And then a few years later, it's pristine, and you ask about it, and it's like, oh, that's because of Nick. So what happened?
So I moved to Watford City in 2008 with my wife. And, she grew up in Watford as her hometown. And we both went to college at North Central University in Minneapolis. And then I graduated with a youth ministry degree. And she went to school for business. So we moved back to her hometown. She started managing her parents' hotel, the Roosevelt Inn and Suites. And I was the youth pastor at the Watford City Assembly of God Church. And, my mountain biking was my sanity, right? Like that was my escape. That was like where I went to sharpen the axe and, recharge my battery. And 2008, 2009, trail was in pretty good shape, right? And 2009 was the first year that I rode the whole trail end to end in one day. And it was a life-changing experience. And it was a goal, it was a bucket list item. And then after I did it, the new goal became, I want to share that experience with other people.
Can you talk about that a little bit? Why was it a life-changing experience?
It was the hardest thing I'd ever done. There was nothing else. Basic training is hard. There was different, I had done different hard things, but that was the one thing where it was I got 90 miles into that 106-mile mountain bike ride, and I hit a point where I thought, there is no way I can continue. There's no way I can go on, right? And sitting on the side of the dusty gravel road, trying just eating a bagel with peanut butter on it, and just
the original power bar.
yeah. This is 2009. I had no idea about endurance. It was all just determination. And sitting there and being thinking I don't think I can get on my bike and pedal out these last 15 miles. I think I'm done. And then just being but if I quit now, then I quit. I'm a quitter. And just my friend Chad Bergen was out there with me. And I remember he was he had ridden the first half with me, and then he was taking a break and just jumped in the sag truck. And then he was I'll ride you in. And we got on, it was sunset, and we got back on the trail, and I just crawled into Sully Creek Campground. And it was, I just was okay, if I can push myself, I found my limit and I pushed through it. And I was if I can do that, then what else can I do? And that's why it changed me from the inside out and from the outside in. It's that constant beauty in the Badlands is just so good for the soul.
Right.
And then that it's beauty heals, the challenge of having to have that internal conversation and push through some of that stuff. That is it changes you.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So I had
just
that. Yep. Had that, and then wanted to share the trail. So the next year, wanted to do the whole ride in a day again. Invited Ian Easton. He came out. And
an animal.
Yes. And I was you want to do this thing together? He's yeah. I don't know who asked who. I don't remember, but it was Easton came out, and I wanted to try and do it faster than I had the year before. So the year before was 22 hours. I don't know, 20 hours maybe.
Were you looking at because it wasn't really documented or anything, but there was probably rumors of this local did it in whatever time. Were you looking at stuff like that?
So I had heard rumors of guys who had done it before, and didn't, and it was just heard they started in the dark, finished in the dark, that's just what it took. And then it was I was well, the hard part about going point to point on the Maah Daah Hey is the north unit of the national park. So you've got 1.7 miles of the trail that goes through national park wilderness area. So bikes aren't allowed in there. So my first year, 2009, Bergen and I, we went to the south side of the north unit, and I rode a bike and dropped a bike and then ran out. And then when we came up to the border of the park, I dropped my bike at the fence and I ran through the park, jumped on my bike, and then biked again. So I feel like I can say like I was the first mountain biker to go point to point on the Maah Daah Hey Trail without poaching the park.
Yeah.
Right. And so that was what we did there. And then we started to build a relationship with the rancher that's property borders the park. And there's a little bypass route that we use now, like 2 miles of gravel road. And that's what we use for the mountain bike race, which we'll get to that.
Yeah.
East and I, we come out, we're going to try and beat my prior year's record. And then we had mechanicals. We lost a light. Easton's light went out. And so we were like both trying to ride at the end of the day with one light. And we beat the previous year's time by 2 minutes.
2 minutes.
Yeah.
Oh, man. What an adventure.
Uh-huh. And then that's 2010, and we're getting lost like along the way, like multiple times. You know, we come to those, what you talked about, those forks in the trail, and it's like you know, one way is the Maah Daah Hey Trail, but you might not necessarily be able to see the next mile marker post or the next trail marker post. And then this other trail looks exactly like the same thing, and it's just been a cattle trail, you know, that's been worn in, just cows going to water somewhere. And so you would get to a fork, make, you know, a decision, and then within about 5 minutes you'd know if it was the right decision or not.
Right.
You know, if you don't see another marker post, then you turn around and go back to that point, go again. So East and I, we got lost multiple times. And the trail, like I started to watch the trail just kind of fade. Like it was just getting like it was getting harder and harder to make the right decision at those forks. Yeah. By 2011, it was like I was getting lost on sections of trail close to home where like I knew this section before. Like, where did I get lost at? You know, turning around, coming back. And then, you know, it was like it got to a point where you couldn't even ride anymore. Right. Like I would go out for a ride on the trail, like to get away from the stresses and you know, life, and to get out and recharge the battery. And it was like all of a sudden I'm in the middle of the Badlands, and the trail is so overgrown I can't even pedal. I've got to shoulder my bike and bushwhack. Yeah.
I was out with Jared Fuchs, and we came out of Bicycle Creek, and then took evidently the wrong little single track out, and we just ended up in all these prickly pears, and I lost a tire, and then he lost one too. It's like, hey, no problem. Yeah. And then we replaced whatever, and I brought one tube, he brought one tube. Yep. And then we start to keep going, and then like it happens again. So get the repair or whatever, and then Jared was just like starts praying, and he's like, oh God. We had like 8 miles to go. And we had to hike out our bikes because it's just we're both flatted out. Yeah. And like, I don't know where we were, but it was like 8 miles of just walking our bikes. Dude. Yep.
Yeah. Adventure.
Yeah. Like, oh God. Yeah. So anyway, yes, but it became like frustrating because for me too, it's hours out. It's not just a day trip. This is like kind of the weekend plan. And then you had the initiative to start a race, it's certainly nationally recognized. It's gone kind of everywhere. A lot of people come for it, but what led to all of that?
Yeah, right. So 2010, Easton and I, you know, do the Maah Daah Hey in a day. And I'm getting like the desire to want to just like ride my mountain bike more and more, right? And maybe like even try to get to like a professional level. And so like I have that desire, like I want to be a professional mountain biker. Like I've got pictures of my dream bike that I'd love to, you know, like purchase one day, you know, and so I'm starting to like, okay, I've got this amazing trail in my backyard where I can train, you know, all the time. And so the goal is like, all right, I'm going to start signing up for some big races. And I applied, it was 2010 or 11, probably 11, applied for the Leadville 100 lottery and didn't get in.
Around the same time, Same race. I did the Leadville 50, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, the
But
Silver
didn't get
Rush. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I did the Silver Rush in like 2007.
Okay.
That was like my first long mountain bike race.
The real
Awesome.
Yeah. Oh, what the heck.
Yeah. And so I was like, all right, I want to do the Leadville 100, and I was crushed when I didn't get in. And it was kind of like, I was like, all right, this that was like the moment that I decided we're gonna host our own 100-mile mountain bike race.
I can't get in. So we're doing it here.
Yeah, like why not? Right? Why not? This lottery is dumb. Like why we'll host our own. And so, talked to my wife Lindsay, and we'd been talking about the idea, right? Like ever since 2009, my first Maah Daah Hey in a day. I was like, this could be a race. So that was like, okay, let's give it a go. So 2011, we just like announced this, whatever, like call it a group ride. Anyone that wants to come, we're going to go from CCC to Maah Daah on the Maah Daah Hey Trail. And had some guys from Bismarck come out. And then, like, I don't even remember how we like advertised it in 2011, but like 3 guys that I had never met before showed up. And we had to, that year, so the trail's starting to, like really get overgrown. And when I was going out and scouting, I was like, it was those places where I was like, we can't even ride here. So I made the call right before the group ride that we were just going to do an out and back from Maah Daah, right? Like that gets down there, the south miles of the trail by Maah Daah probably get more traffic. And so it was like the trail was in better shape down there. So I said, let's meet in Maah Daah. We'll go north to Wanigan and come back. So it was like a 50, some mile ride. And we did that. And I was like, all right, that was really fun to like have buddies come out, ride with buddies, meet new guys. And so we decided 2012, let's make this an actual event. And we just decided to launch the inaugural Maah Daah Hey 100, and we made it was a free event, and we just like had built out a little blog spot website, advertised it. Somebody saw it, put it on the mountain bike forum,
Sure.
And the word spread. And all of a sudden, the night before the race, we've got like 67 mountain bikers in Watford City. And we're like meeting at my church the night for a pre-race meeting the night before. And I'm just like, it was electric. I was just like, this is amazing. Watford City was the first time I'd ever seen like cars pulling into town with bikes on the top, and racks. And it was like they were coming to, our hotel to stay. And it was like, it felt like Moab for a weekend in Watford City. And I just said, this is awesome. And then we took them down to Triple C Campground Saturday morning and told them all, like, just follow the marker posts.
Good luck out there, everybody.
We'll see you at Dakota Cyclery in Maah Daah for the finish line.
Yeah.
And like sent them all out, and everybody got lost multiple times. Lost. First place would get lost and then get passed by, like work their way back, tell second place, like, that's not the way. And then, that guy would get lost, come back. And it was like first and second went back and forth so many times. And it was like, it was frustrating for them.
Sure. First place is coming back this way.
Yeah.
You're going the wrong way.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
And so that was, after that, I fell in love with the, event. And I wanted to keep offering, the dream now is share this trail, right, with as many people as possible. That experience had changed my life. And then the people that came out, they're like, we got lost, but that was amazing. Like, that changed my life. And so Lindsay and I had a decision to make, like, if we want to keep offering the Maah Daah Hey 100 as an experience, I want the trail to be quality. And so for 2013, that's when I went to the Forest Service and asked, like, how come the trail's not getting maintained, and what can we do to help? And I found out that they were, extremely understaffed, underfunded. The trail opened in like 1999, and for the first, 10 years or so, they had these big trail crews of like 15 employees that would go out and maintain the trail. And then, you know, things started to happen where the system, where the Forest Service had to hire those trail crews, it had to be more diversified. So all of a sudden it became really hard just to apply for that position and get it, right? It wasn't like the same guy came back 3 years in a row and was just guaranteed that job. The application process became really complicated and not like guaranteed. Then at the same time, you know, we've got the Bakken oil boom happening in western North Dakota. And so someone that would be qualified or like interested in maintaining, you know, digging trail all summer, it's like, now I can just go work in the oil field for triple the pay.
Yeah.
Right.
$5,000 an hour.
Yeah.
and you know,
right.
Yeah, the volunteer piece of it.
Yeah.
Is a little bit lost.
And then at the same time, you know, western North Dakota, we were in this like wet cycle. And so we were just getting dumped on in the winter, you know, feet of snow, and then wet springs, and the vegetation, you know, the Badlands, that desert prairie terrain, the vegetation just took off. It was like a jungle. And I would say, from what I saw, myself personally, about half of the Maah Daah Hey Trail just completely disappeared. Like that, like where you could not ride it, it was like bushwhack and try to find the next marker post.
Yep.
And it just disappeared. It was gone. And so I asked the Forest Service, you know, like, okay, if you guys can't get out there and mow it, would you let us try?
Which is a daunting task.
I had no idea what I was asking.
It was a 100-mile trail, 110-mile trail.
Yeah.
At the time, at least.
Technically 97 miles is what the
okay.
original trail was. That's what goes through the national parks.
Okay.
For cyclists taking the Buffalo Gap Trail around the South Unit, and if you went all the way down to Sully Creek, it was probably like 106.
So you're gonna mow and maintain the trail for 100 miles through the North Dakota Epic Badlands, so that you can keep doing the race.
Right.
All right.
Yeah. It sounded like a good
wide-eyed
idea.
and big smile.
I just picture him with a Honda. Here we go. And
Kinda.
Is that how it started?
That is exactly how it started. So we had 2012 under our belt, and then I came to Bismarck for the Race to Sunset, 2013, which I think Race to Sunset is the first time I ever met you.
Yeah, I
don't know what
kind of
year.
ran into you a little bit. Do you remember that?
I do.
So speed is a really great cover for if you don't have finesse or ability, and I had neither, actually. So I tried to pass you, and then and I hit you, and then I came back. I think I remember that.
Yeah,
man, I bonked hard on that race.
it was fun.
It was fun.
Yeah. So after the race,
Sorry, Nick.
no, it's
This is why I brought you here.
And that's when I met Kelly McGelkey,
Yeah.
a local hero, and man, what a cool, kind guy. So
yes,
that
such
same
an
race.
inspiration.
Yeah.
He's the guy that made me say I want to be a pro mountain biker.
Oh, cool.
You know.
Yep.
And so after the race, you know, it was like awards. We were just like chilling afterwards, and I remembered, you know, for some reason I think they said, like, you know, if you want to announce the Maah Daah Hey 100, you can. And I remember getting up in front of everybody and just saying, like, 2012 happened. I think, you know, it could turn into something, but the trail is disappearing. And if, you know, if this even has a chance, like, we're going to have to volunteer to reclaim this trail. And it was just like an SOS that I threw out there. And, you know, the guys in Bismarck who mowed trail, who had trail work experience, they knew what I was saying, what I was proposing, and were just like, there's no way that Nick can do that alone, right? And so it was Brian Freed, Chad Bergen, Easton, all jumped in their trucks with 2 brush mowers that they stole from the Bismarck bike clubs and came out to the Badlands for the first day, of volunteer, let's save the Maah Daah Hey. And we went out and decided, the 2 mowers, we would do a point to point, and we were going to tackle the 10 miles north of Bicycle Creek Road, County Road 50.
Mm-hmm.
And so, Bergen and Frito each took a mower. And
On each side?
Yes.
Of the single track?
Yeah.
Okay.
The mowers are only wide enough to mow one side of the trail at a time, right? So
you're doing the whole trail twice.
you do it twice.
Yeah.
Yep. And so they take off and start mowing. Easton and I had string trimmers, and we were trying to reclaim the trail bed. And it was so, like I said, there was no trail. It had disappeared, and the trail bed was so overgrown. We were trying to get these string trimmers on the center line, and it's just we're going over and over and over the same spot, trying to establish a single track, And at one point, I remember I'm just burning in trail, and Easton looks at me and he's like, "Ybarra, we've got to keep moving. We're gonna be out here past dark if we don't keep moving." And so it became that balance of trying to do as much as you can at a certain pace. And we just at one point we just stopped string trimming and just started hiking, trying to catch the mowers. And I'm just huffing and puffing, trying to keep up with Easton, just at a steady hike. And we finally catch the mowers. And then when we got done with those 10 miles, man, I felt like I had mountain biked the Maah Daah Hey in a day, turned around and rode back. I was shot. I had no idea what we were getting into.
Such a daunting task just to make it rideable, not to mention all of the back end stuff that you have to do organizationally to run an event. This must have been a pretty big dream for you. I mean, how do you hold on to that kind of hope?
Dude, so it was the first year we did it because I had no idea what we were getting into, right? So the first year was that shock, but also the appeal of something new, and that it's worth it. We're doing this for the race. So 2013, the mountain bike event doubles. We have twice as many people come. We charged a really small registration fee that maybe it didn't even cover the volunteer trail work and the hosting the event, right? It was we were trying to just make everything pencil out for the event, and we never anticipated the volunteer trail work expenses and all that. And so that I remember getting done with that year and being we did it. We saved the trail.
Yeah.
Right? And being all right, next year is going to be awesome. And so 2014, getting ready for the event, and then still holding on to that dream of maybe I could go pro and be a professional mountain biker. And my buddy Chris Null, he was a really, really good biker. And so I started riding with Chris. In 2014 in June, we were going to do the Maah Daah Hey in a day, and just go do it together and try and chip away at that time, that PR time. And that ride was so discouraging because I remember hitting these certain sections of the trail and seeing that they had already grown back thicker than the year before. And we would, some sections were good, and then some sections were just so gnarly, so hairy and thick. And I remembered looking at Chris and being dude, I can't, there's no way we can do that again. The race is off. I told him that. And I was I started out that day, I was already sick. And so I wasn't in good condition for the hundo, but that was and then at about mile 80 or 90, I got a phone call and my grandma died that day. And so I was it all hit. It was all like super heavy. I was so bummed about the trail. And then I just like pulled the plug at mile 90. Chris finished the ride, and I just remember like wrestling with that idea of, can we do this again? Is this worth it? And like going back and forth, and then just deciding this is worth it. And so we like rallied again, got the whole trail mode again, hosted the race doubled again. And it was like that, seeing all those riders come experience the trail, that's what made it worth it. I was like, okay, we've got to keep doing this.
So a larger question then, not just specific to this instance, but how do you deal with discouragement?
I don't know. I think, you know, when we started all this, Lindsay and I were in our 20s, you know, and you have a certain level of maturity and resilience. But then it's like every time you hit a hard challenge and you make it through it, then you think like, okay, I'm in the clear. And then the next challenge hits and it's even harder than the one before. And you like push through, like you think there's a level of maturity where you think, once I make it through this, it's going to be smooth sailing. And then you're surprised by the next challenge it's harder than the one was before. And I feel like once you can get to the point in your level of growth where you realize that the only thing waiting for you after the current challenge that you're in is another harder challenge, and you accept that, then that gives you the tools and the maturity to be able to like work through that discouragement. I think that's been the key for me, is understanding like it's never going to get easy. It never will. It's always going to be hard. It's supposed to be. Like, embrace it.
The Maah Daah Hey 100 today has grown into something I'd imagine is beyond what you probably anticipated. So tell me about what it is today.
Yeah. It's interesting, man. When we launched the Maah Daah Hey 100, you know, it was a great idea. The event has evolved so much. And then it got to a point where I'd say like 2014, 15, 16 era, especially 2015 was a really hot year. And so those first years, like we were offering, people would come to Triple C, park their car, and they would ride the race and we'd shuttle them back. And then it got to the point where the event, we weren't able to offer the shuttles anymore. We had to make the decision, like, can we continue to offer shuttles? And like we had, you know, buses and good plans for getting people from the finish line back to the starting line. But what we discovered in some of those hot years is you have no idea who's registering for the event. You have no idea what they've, you know, like what their ability is, what they've done, how seriously they took, you know, preparation and training for the event. And when we started having people like people signed up for the 100-mile, dropping out at mile 10 and mile like 25, all of a sudden we're trying to shuttle people and bikes back to their vehicles, you know, and like we're set up to get them from the finish line to start. But we had so many people dropping along the way that we couldn't keep up with.
How did they even drop? I mean, there's hardly any cell phone service out there, or at least at the time. Right.
So our checkpoints and aid stations are at every road crossing, you know, and it was just like we maybe had one volunteer there, like checking off, like, okay, racer number, you know, 103 made it through aid station 1. But then you have people start dropping there, and they're like, "Can I get a ride?" And that volunteer's like, "I'm the only one here, man. Like,
yeah,
you're gonna have to wait a while
in whatever condition they are."
Yeah, and that was
dehydrated or whatever.
Exactly. We started realizing the people dropping are in really dangerous condition, like really rough shape. They probably they need, you know, to get cooled off fast, or they maybe need to go to the hospital. Mm-hmm. So the decision we had to make was, if we offer shuttles, we either need to like triple the registration fee so that we can, manage getting these people off the course, or we keep it like accessible, and like as low entry fee as possible, but we require people to have their own transportation on and off the trail. Bring your own SAG vehicle,
Right.
And so we decided to go that route, and it was a big risk. It's hard enough to take the time off of life to go out to the middle of nowhere, western North Dakota, and do a 100-mile race, right? Like, we all only get so much vacation time a year, right? You can only do so many races a year. But then all of a sudden, when that event requires you to talk someone else into coming with you and taking that time off of life, and just to be your support driver, then we watched the event like plateau and hit a point where it was like, all right, like, this is like, it just kind of is stuck at this level that it's at, and that's where the mountain bike race is. So like, my vision of like seeing the Maah Daah Hey 100 grow to the level of like a Leadville 100, like, that's never happened,
Sure.
and there's reasons for that, and so, but two, like, seeing what it's become and how it's become, people experiencing the Maah Daah Hey Trail the exact same way that I did.
Right.
Making memories with your SAG crew, with your family, your friends, like riding and getting to see as many people have experienced that as have. Yeah, the race has become exactly what I wanted it to be.
Yeah.
So what it's at now is, now we've seen professional riders come and set records, and records get broken, and, and then regular people come out and, just like fight to cross the finish line before it closes, at 18 hours. And I get so much joy out of seeing both experiences.
Absolutely.
Right? Like, the pros, like, crushing it and inspiring people, and then the guy that crosses like half an hour before closing time and looks me in my eyes and says, like, this saved my life.
Wow.
We had a couple years ago, we had a guy cross, and he goes, do you know what a Misogi is? And I go, you've read Comfort Crisis, haven't you?
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, I love that book. He goes, okay, good. I'm glad you know what it is. He's like, this was my Misogi. He goes, 2 years ago, I was diagnosed with cancer. I was 60 pounds overweight, and I had no hope. And I saw your race, and I made it my goal, and I signed up for it. And he's like, and here I am crossing the finish line. And we're both just crying, like that. There's no comparison. That's what the race is. And I love that's what the race is.
Yeah. That's awesome. And moving forward, like, what do you have a vision? Do you want it to grow beyond or add different things, or is it like this is everything, and just continue this experience?
Yeah. So, me being a mountain biker, I always thought that this, like, launching the Maah Daah Hey 100, that was all I had planned, right? It was surprising when people started asking if they could run the mountain bike race. And so we decided to add a trail run, and we were like, okay, we're already mowing and marking the entire race course. Like, yeah, we should offer a trail run. And I never anticipated the trail run growing to the same size as the bike race, but then it did. And then it surpassed the bike race.
Really?
And then it was like double the participation of the bike race, and now it's well over triple. Like, our Maah Daah Hey Trail run last year, we hosted over 1,000 trail runners in one weekend.
That's insane.
It's insane. And it's like that, I never expected it, but that is where, like, the majority of our participants are getting to experience the Maah Daah Hey Trail.
Yeah.
And so we're thinking, like, all right, if this is what's working, like, should we add more trail runs? We're limited. We operate under special use permit with the Forest Service. So there's a limit to the amount of people we can have on the trail at one event. And then two, the way that the race started, like we needed the middle of summer to mow the trail. And then you've got other events where we wanted to didn't want to compete with any other events. So the Maah Daah Hey 100 mountain bike race is always the first Saturday of August. The trail run's always the last weekend of July. It's always hot, super, super hot. And people ask, why do you host it when it's like the hottest time of the year? And there's, it's just the way that it evolved.
It could be over 100 degrees.
It can.
If it's 80 in Bismarck, it might be over 100 in one of those.
Oh yeah. Absolutely.
Clay baked.
Right?
Yeah.
So it's like you have to take that and and that you can train for that. You can suffer through that if you're prepared, right? There's other races that are way hotter, like Badwater 135. They're known for heat. People know the Maah Daah Hey is going to be it could be a very hot race day. So you prep for that. And the better you prep, the more chance you have for success. But I will also want to offer a spring experience when it's a little cooler and you get to see all the wildflowers, right?
Yeah.
A fall experience when you see the leaves changing colors and have that thing. So right now the plan is we're going to add 2 more trail runs, and we're going to do a spring and a fall and a summer. And so you'll have the chance to do you will see the entire 150 mile point to point Maah Daah Hey Trail system if you do the 350s or if you do the 3 100s. And so that's where we're heading for events.
Awesome. And people who are interested and haven't heard of it, how do they get plugged in, involved, find you, learn more about it?
Yep, events are all at badlandsraces.com. So you can go there and check out our Maah Daah Hey events. We have a gravel race. We have winter racing. So all that's there. And then if you want to get involved with the trail work, the hands-on, let's go save the Maah Daah Hey Trail, that's at savethemdh.com.
And you're accepting people to help out with that?
We take anyone. We will run anyone into the ground. We guarantee that you will burn fat and build lean muscle at the Big Push. We call it. Every year we do it in the middle of July, the first weekend after the 4th of July. We start mowing trail, and we call it the Big Push to save the Maah Daah Hey.
Awesome. Is there anything else you want to talk about what you've got going on?
The only thing, man, I can think of is we've got a trail building company now. So we're building brand new single track in the Badlands.
Yeah.
And that has been that's my new favorite thing to do.
So you're actually designing it.
Designing, constructing, testing.
So you get to look at the land and be like, it could go like this.
Yes.
Really?
Yeah.
That's the dream.
It's so fun because when we go out and maintain the Maah Daah Hey Trail, we're fixing things that are problems because of how the trail was laid out and designed. Mm-hmm. So building brand new trail, we get to lay it out differently and then build it how we want it. So it's been really, really fun. The whole creation of it is addicting.
Absolutely. Well, Nick, I have admired you for the length of time that I've heard about you. But getting to know you, fantastic. Thank you for doing all the stuff that you do, and I cheer everybody on. I'd encourage anybody to do it. I do it for fun because I'm scared to do it when people can see me, but I'll get past that.
Yeah.
I'll probably get past that.
Yeah.
The thing, we talked to Caden Hintz, who's I don't know, dude. He's an endurance runner and an animal.
Yeah.
And I can't believe people can do that,
right.
100-mile runs and things like that. But we talked to him, and this is the kind of thing a blister can take you out,
right.
Right. Or heat rash, the thighs rubbing together,
Yeah.
And but the whole experience, it's people go there and their lives are changed, and it's led in large part because of the dream that you had and that you kept pushing through. So
Right.
cheers.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Thank you for
having
being
me
here.